There are places I remember all my life, though some have changed, some forever, not for better. Some have gone, and some remain.
Sure, I remember Gregor.
He's a risk taker.
Really sexy.
The greatest thing about Baby G is that he's hip-hop.
He just had some radical ideas that we weren't really ready for.
He's done a lot of very strange experimental things, sexually, is what I mean.
Yeah, I remember Gregor.
Interesting fella. Interesting fella.
I think for a while he was into auto asphyxiation.
Me and Greg go back like rock and jazz, as I like to say.
He put the G in hip-hop.
He's just charming and funny and artistic.
Sublime artistic sense.
Greg is just amazing. He's amazing.
I defy anyone to approach Baby Greer with any kind of malevolent words, anything to say, like anything malicious, anything bad. He's a liar.
Had a bit of a temper.
Volatile. Really volatile.
Petty.
Lecherous.
Tragically optimistic.
Did a little backstabbing.
He's temperamental.
Naively apocalyptic.
He's a saint. He's like a sainted fuck. I love him. I think he's fantastically, stupendously, yeah.
I knew Baby Greer back when he was lifting glass tubing from the local high school's chemistry labs. He'd take it home and create these beautiful, fragile life sculptures from them. Of course, he also made a lot of pipes that he sold at dead shows.
The sculpture or the painting, his life is his art in a lot of ways.
He took me down in the basement. He had me lay down on some plastic sheeting and he covered me in goop. He said it was fine art, but I thought it was really bizarre.
And he opens the door in that very soap opera way, and he just has like a towel wrapped around him, and I'm like, what the fuck?
His work with the rats, I think, really struck me.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that whole sheep thing.
He was in a towel around his waist, the flip-flops, of course. It was dead of winter, we were outside, and the rat was on a spatula. And he was just sort of holding it there. It was a performance. I'd never seen anything like it.
Where is the fish? Where is the fish? Where is the beer? Where is the beer? Where is the beer?
Things really took off for him when he started with his performance pieces. For one of his early works, he strung a bunch of extension cords out to the backyard, plugged in a small black and white TV, put on a yellow rain slicker, and drank a case of Pabst Blue Ribbon while watching a Mets game.
I was blown away.
I remember the night that I met Baby G really well. I was sitting in Dusselvano having dinner with Andy Warhol.
Andy was Andy, that's what everybody always says. But Baby Greer has a giving streak, and I think he gave him a lot of shit.
And he walked in with Linda Evangelista, Christy Turlington, and Naomi Campbell, and I knew the girls, and they came over to say hello. Andy was there, and he said, Baby G, how did you get to be so famous? And he said to Andy, in the future everybody will be famous for 15 minutes. And I remember, I didn't think anything of it at the time, but Andy really got a lot of mileage out of that.
Gregor, I remember Gregor. We saw him at Max's. He came by the office and he helped with some of the painting. He was helping Gerard and Holly and Joe D'Alessandro and Mary Warnoff. He was a very nice young man. Yes, he was around for a while. You could ask some of the others. I could tell you more. I don't remember a whole lot, but yes, I remember Gregor.
The people on Warhol's camp were threatened. Yeah, the soup cans, the silk screening, the movies, the stuff that Warhol was doing, but who paid attention to that?
Richard Serra and I were living in Paris at the time. He was doing sculpture and I was doing music, and we didn't have the money really to go to La Coupole. La Coupole was a very trendy kind of, what would you call it? It was a brasserie in the Montparnasse area, and but we would go and sit and watch Gregor at another table because we admired him so much, and we would stayed there as long as we could, but we only could afford one espresso, which cost about $2. And we would sit there and watch him and then follow him down the street. And that's what I remember Gregor.
As an artist, he's probably best remembered for his work at the that thing that he did. What was the question? He was on television?
And welcome back.
Brandon Lee, son of Bruce Lee, has a new movie out, Rapid Fire, and we caught up with him to talk about the making of that movie.
Obviously, he had the whole flamboyant sort of queen period, which everybody knows about.
Take this back a bit. Bring the sides up. Yes, I like that. I like the effect we're getting here. I like that.
Was Gregor a drag queen? Not really. He hung around the office with a lot of the drag queens, but a drag queen, I don't think he really fit into that type of lifestyle. He was a very nice young man. I remember he stayed around the office with us and went to some of the parties and to Max's, and he was around with Holly and some of the other girls, but we just liked him. We liked him a lot. He was very nice.
Yeah, Greer was taped in sort of an eternal homage to his mentor, J. Edgar Hoover.
We went to Fire Island one weekend, and what was so impressive to me was the entire time, all he was wearing was a t-shirt, a towel, and some sandals. I don't even think he had underwear.
The man has balls. Yeah, he has balls because he just thinks that you could just put on a towel and look good, and he sort of did.
When he stood up from the bar, I realized that he was just wearing a towel.
If you've never seen his butt crack, it's really quite impressive.
There is something about his butt crack.
I don't know if anyone here has seen his abs. His abdominal muscles those are sort of a work of art of their own.
I remember going up to the Bronx the first time when I met Flash at his house, actually, and there's Greg. I'm like, who's this white dude? And Flash was like, yo, man, this is like one of the main guys on the parties. I mean, Greg was a DJ back then who would cut records at places like, you know, Harlem World, Ecstasy Garage, even the T-Connection. Flash was like, man, I can't make a move without this cat. He was like Grandmaster Flash's right hand.
And, you know, every time you flip through a Source magazine, sure there's Puffy on the cover, you know, sure there's Nas and Jay-Z, but you know, without Baby G, there would be no G in hip-hop.
It was Greg that had all the hot records. I mean, some of the original break beats that are the foundations of hip-hop, man. Greg was there.
Baby Greer cut the dashboard off my '72 Dodge Dart. Put a Blaupon stereo in there, Triac speakers in the back. Things sounded great. It was a nice day. We were cranking the tunes. I looked at him and said, dude. He looked back, dude.
Hey, dude, how's it going? What on the dude?
Dude. He said, what? I said, dude.
Dude?
That was until he beat me up over a piece of wire. Fucker.
I met Gregor through my girlfriend at the time, who was working at Interview. My music career wasn't doing too well. I was living in an abandoned factory in Stamford, Connecticut, which at the time seemed fine. I was paying about $80 a month rent, and I was desperate for any sort of music work. And Gregor got me a DJing job at the Aula up at Vassar, which at the time it paid like, I don't know, $25, $30, but it was quite a big deal for me because my rent was only $80 a month. And I went up there and I had a good time and playing, you know, house music for Vassar kids wearing black. But then I woke up the next morning because I stayed over at Gregor's house, and I couldn't, my girlfriend had come up with a friend of hers, and I couldn't find either my girlfriend or a friend, and I looked into Gregor's bedroom, and he was there with my girlfriend and her friend, and that was the last time I ever talked to any of them.
I remember the night, it was me, Russell Simmons, Puff Daddy, Baby G, and all the bitches went to Baby G. You know, Russell and Puffy and Andre Harrell standing around looking like, you know, who is this cat with all of our chicks? It was Baby G.
He brought a lot of women around the house.
I love him, and I loved him immediately. I just couldn't help myself because he was just dripping with sex. I knew he was married, yeah, and I mean, we're all adults, aren't we?
He thought it would be all right to tell me about how he had sex with animals. And granted, he's a good storyteller, but to be quite frank with you, it really wasn't turning me on.
We were gonna get married, and I was pretty shocked. And was I disappointed? Sure. But when I found out who he left me for...
I met Gregor down in the West Village. You know, he's this great up-and-coming hairdresser. It's like, you know, it's like, oh, you gotta see Gregor's work. You know, come to think of it, he was great. In more ways than one, if you know what I mean.
In fact, when I met Gregor, he told me that he was married to a man.
That one night of passion we shared was so special to me.
Yeah, he got me pregnant.
Gregor, that bastard. Thank God this baby doesn't look anything like him.
I knew he was married, but I couldn't resist him. Who could? Said he'd be with me forever. I got, 15 minutes of pleasure, well, 3. And all I have now is this child.
Gregor's like, I want to have a family, and I'm like, great, so do I. And then we adopt this little precious bundle of joy, and he leaves. He just like walks out, and I'm like, hello? I mean, we've got a person here. And I just, if matter of fact, if Gregor's watching this, look at this. Look, this is yours, okay? It's not just me, it's us, okay? Us.
But at least he left me with this great little boy. Well, and of course the herpes.
I remember Baby Griar. Met him down in the West Village years and years ago when I was working there. He had theories of the universe which were unexplainable and inexplicable. And he used to come in with these diagrams. They were really quite gorgeous, connecting everything to everything. Every time I'd see him, he would have elaborated on his theory, and the diagrams got more and more and more elaborate.
I'm sorry. I just pressed some weird button. Oh, I took a picture by accident. How do I get out of that mode? Okay.
Along with the theories, he had diagrams which would explain all of this, and I couldn't understand the diagrams any more than I could his words. Well, every time I'd see him, the theory had gotten more and more elaborate and more self-referential.
Look, it's a metaphysical, philosophical concept that we're talking about here. Communication. Cut and dry.
This went on for about, 8 or 9 months, and then one day, as happens down there, he just sort of wandered away and never saw him again. I think of him every now and again, wonder whatever happened to him.
And I remember he taught me a lot about guns and shotguns and various calibers of shotguns, buckshot, just shooting anonymously into the woods where there were properties sort of close by. And basically I'd go up there and see him in sort of a murderous rage with these guns.
Well, yes, he did lock me up in the tool shed.
I wasn't surprised. I really wasn't.
Came around one day, threw me in the trunk of his car, and drove me up to the farm in Greenville.
I'm really not allowed to get into it in too much detail.
Prodded me up a ladder and shoved me through the second-story window of the corn crib.
Something really horrible was going to happen.
Said he needed a screwdriver to get the lock off. Anyway, it was pretty cold in there, but he tossed in some rotten pears he'd found on the ground. Of course, that was before he pistol-whipped me over some speaker wire.
Yeah, I've represented him. Heck of a guy. He signed a retainer, promised to pay me $50,000. Haven't seen a cent.
Oh yeah, I hit him. I felt I had to draw the line. He had it coming.
The city reminds me of Gregor mostly because it's so wild. Like he's wild.
Greg, I call him Handyman.
I brought my hacksaw.
Hey girl, gather around, pick up the water I'm putting down. Oh, baby, I'm your handyman.
This is so much easier than it looks.
He's obviously someone who likes to construct things.
First, I'm going to put that down there.
Tools are always, everything is really a tool for him.
Yeah, he said, well, Chucho, I can, make you, the set of shelves that you've been wanting. And I was like, okay, sure. Come on over.
There's a very influential art magazine that said that this is some of his finest work in that kitchen.
I don't know if there were shelves, I don't know, cubicles, whatever, his abstract shit that he does with his art, but he did it on my wall.
There was a hurricane coming, and it was important to get the skylights in that day. to be on the roof with the tools, with no ladder.
It was sad. I mean, I've seen this kind of thing happen with other people, and it was just typical of his sort of destructive, self-destructive behavior.
You're drawn to that. At least I'm drawn to that.
Gregor, he likes smashing things, you know, and at first I thought it was just in the bedroom, but he really just loves smashing things. He helped to completely destroy one of my bookcases when I was moving out of an apartment, and we left him in the apartment for a moment to bring some stuff down to the truck, and it was in splinters, a big huge pile of sawdust by the time we got back up there.
I went down there to the basement. He was working with the fuse box, and he was standing in a 2-inch puddle of water. It was a remarkable moment for all of us in the room, me and him. I don't know if anybody else was there.
And the thing with Greg was I looked around and I looked on the wall. He had put all his tools up on the wall, and they were all just huge.
That's what we call a pipe cutter.
He's got big tools, lots of big tools.
It was the most amazing thing. And I realized then he was like, he's thinking on a totally different level from the rest of us. We're thinking small, and he's thinking huge.
No, I don't. I don't think it was ever proved that he burned down Masha's Deli. It's true that he did rewire the store about a week before it suffered from an electrical fire. That much is true, but I don't think anyone ever actually proved anything.
So one time I was at Denise Rich's house. She'd had a dinner party, and Bill Clinton was there, and who else was there? Mariah Carey. Denise Rich had actually written some songs from Celine Dion, so I think Celine was there at dinner as well. And at one point, Bill Clinton, this was while he was still president, and he got up to speak, and we all know, I mean, Bill Clinton's an amazing public speaker, and he started speaking. It was very compelling, but I looked over, and to my left, Gregor, I don't know, maybe he had a long day, but he was fast asleep. So you have this room full of people who are all paying rapt attention to Bill Clinton, and there's Gregor with his little beer belly just sitting there. So that's my Gregor story.
I mean, I remember when Uncle Gregor was mine age, and it smelled kind of funny.
Baby Grior is probably one of the most generous, most prolifically magnanimous, and misanthropic people I have ever met.
All I gotta say is, Greg, man, I mean, you know, hip-hop wouldn't have been the same without you, and I just want to say, Greg, man, much respect to you, man, and everything you do from here on, man. It's just, yo, love, peace, and hair grease, baby. Fab Five, and I'm out.
Standing on the corner, suitcase in my hand, Jack's in his corset, Jane is in her vest, and me, I'm in a rock and roll band. Huh.
We've made some friends, we've made some enemies. Should school children be given coffee in the morning? Only time will tell. In New York, this is Gregor Ehrlich reporting.
I love to see you smile. I love to see